You can't hunt what you can't kill. Carlos Ulberg defeats Jiri Prochazka and is the new light heavyweight champion. What just happened? It is the morning after UFC 327. I can't believe what I've just witnessed in the main event. Carlos Ulberg blows out his knee, literally fighting on one leg, and then finds a left hook on Jiri's chin, absolutely drops him, folds him in half, and then finishes the fight. Jiri's head was bouncing off the canvas, and I can't believe it. I can't believe it. It has got to be just, one of the more crazy scenarios in a fight that I've seen. But welcome back to Gibbo MMA. We're going to review UFC 327. What a card, very entertaining. And very enjoyable watch from top to bottom. We had, out of the 12 fights, we had 6 finishes. The decisions, they weren't too boring. Outside of, obviously, the Johnny Walker, Dominic Reyes was a huge letdown. We thought that was going to be fireworks, but ended up not being. And UFC Miami always delivers. And let's get into it. Let's start with this main event. Jiri Ulberg, very even fight heading in. Very much sitting on the fence as to who would win. I was leaning towards Jiri just because, I'm one of my favorite fighters. Was, supporting Ulberg too because, the brother across the ditch here, he's from New Zealand. So I was pretty torn, but I was leaning Jiri just because, he's outside of, if it's an Australian or New Zealand fighter, I'm always going to support the Oz NZ. But there's one exception, and that's Jiri Prochazka. So I was cheering Jiri, but I'm very happy that Ulberg won. Super stoked for him. What a story he has, going from, playing rugby, being a, male host for parties, whatever, and now becoming a UFC world champion. And Jiri Prochazka, he looked like he had that fight in the bag during this fight. Ulberg does his knee with sort of 2 minutes into the fight. Halfway through the first round, does his knee. You could see he was severely compromised because every time he went to retreat on his back leg, because when you're retreating, a lot of your weight goes to your back foot, it was buckling hard. Like when he went forward, he had success because he could put weight on the front leg, but once he had to retreat, he was cooked, and he was getting leg kicked as well. But Jiri decided to do the low fight IQ, what Jiri sometimes does, and just runs into a left hook, runs into a punch. He gets all aggressive because during that fight, not even hindsight's 2020 in this. Hindsight, it was 2020 in this, going, just make it to the end of the round and you win this fight, because as soon as he goes to the stall, they're going to have to call this fight. They're not going to let him go back out with a blown out knee. But for whatever reason, Jiri keeps marching forward and gets caught. And he was saying he played a bit of mercy, post-fight. He was saying that, and then during the fight, he was pointing to the ground. He was doing some weird shit. But I got to give a lot of credit to Ulberg, recognizing I'm compromised, I'm injured. After this round, I'm probably not going to be I'm not going to make it to the second round because of my knee. So I just got to throw, the kitchen sink at him if he comes at me. And that's what happened. Jiri had him pressed against the cage and just went into his range with nothing, with his hands down. And Ulberg just Hail Married sort of the left hook and just flush on the chin. And Jiri just, his back snaps backwards. And Ulberg pounces, the blackjack pounces on the ground and finishes him off. Man, all Jiri had to do was just circle the octagon. He didn't even have to do anything. Just circle around the octagon and come away with the TKO win due to injury. But it would have been good if Jiri got the finish because Ulberg was compromised. But yeah, the smart play was like during the fight, I was just like, man, thinking to myself, all he has to do is just circle around the octagon, jab his way, don't get knocked out, and he wins. But that's not how it played out. It played out as such. Ulberg is now the new champion, and moving forward, what happens next with this is, we've got to find out to the extent of the injury, how long he's going to be out. They say ACL is at least 9 months. Oh, that's a long time in MMA. That is a long time. This division is going to be at a bit of a standstill. Because Pereira vacates. So this was for a vacant undisputed belt. So now we have an undisputed champ. But if he's out for a year, what happens now? We do an interim belt? Did they take the belt off Ulberg and do another vacant undisputed? So the light heavyweight division is at a bit of a standstill here. And what could be the best case scenario for this is Pereira. He's fighting at the White House for the vacant heavyweight belt. And if he wins that, or if he loses that, so let's go with, say he loses against Cyril Gane. He can come back down to light heavyweight and fight, you could say, for an undisputed fight, and if against Khamzat Chimaev. So if Khamzat beats Strickland, because there's talks about Khamzat moving up, this is all hypotheticals, but I feel like this is the best case scenario to get a big fight at light heavyweight. And if we could get Pereira Khamzat Chimaev for a light heavyweight belt, that would be best case scenario. Like if Pereira wins the heavyweight interim, he's then obviously got to fight Tom Aspinall. But maybe if Aspinall's still not ready, maybe Pereira, drops back down and fights at light heavyweight. Because at the moment, light heavyweight, there's no clear contender. Like Magomed Ankalaev just lost to Pereira. He's ranked number 1, but I don't think the UFC really want Ankalaev fighting for another title and becoming champ, because look at the road he had to take just to get to it. Then you got Jiri, who's just lost. He's had like his 3rd or 4th title fight. Khalil Roundtree's ranked 4. He just got knocked out by Jiri. Azamat Mazakhanov just got head kicked by Paulo Costa. So there's no clear contender at light heavyweight. And it's been like, the light heavyweight division's been weird like that for the past 5 years or 6 years. Like, Jiri won the belt, then he gets injured, he gets vacated. Then Glover and Jamal Hill fight for it. Jamal Hill wins it. He injures himself, and then Jan Blachowicz, Ankalaev fight, that ends up in a draw. Like the light heavyweight title champs and like lineage of it has just been so up and down. Pereira's been the only one to really defend the belt this past decade. This past 6 years has really been the only one defending the belt. Otherwise, it's been new champ, gets injured, vacates, or new champ, there's a rematch, and then loses like Ankalaev. So the light heavyweight division is just a weird division, and there's Jan Blachowicz is ranked number 5, but he lost to Carlos Ulberg in that 3-round decision. Weird scenes for the light heavyweight division. But Jiri, man, got a feel for him for a bit. But I saw a post, the Book of Five Rings. The Jiri loves that book, kind of loves that, Japanese samurai lore. And there was a quote, I'm paraphrasing here, and it was around going, if you're going into a fight, show no mercy, finish the fight. And he must have missed that part of the book because he should have showed no mercy. He should have, either gone for the kill, or he should have played it really smart and recognized, like, I just have to make it to the end of the round, and this fight will be stopped due to injury. Yeah, let me know your thoughts on this fight, guys. I'll be posting my fight reaction. Man, I jumped off my chair when that left hook landed. I couldn't believe it. So I'll be posting that up today or the next day or whatever. But let's keep going down with this card. Co-main event. Paulo Costa head kicks Azamat Murzakanov in the third round. Takes Azamat's O. Azamat was undefeated in this. I was undefeated coming into this fight. Paulo Costa moving up from middleweight to light heavyweight. And Paulo Costa's leg kicks, man, they are exceptional. He was going hard to the body, doing really well, landing really well. And, Azamat was blocking some of them with his elbow, but I wouldn't be surprised if he has a fractured forearm after this fight. And as he kept going to the body, it sets up for the head kick. And he was going to the head as well. And they were getting, Azamat had his hands up, but, it's not going to fully block that blow. And Paulo Costa lands a head kick. Azamat just starts stumbling around, goes to the ground, and the referee just stopped it. No lead-up shots were necessary. So Paulo Costa becoming a contender at light heavyweight. And with the way the division is, like we were just saying, he could be one fight away from fighting for a title, I think. I don't think he will be fighting straight for a title, but he just beat the ranked number 6 guy, undefeated Russian, via knockout. Possibly his best win of recent, probably one of his best wins of his career. Coming into this, he hadn't, like, his last time he got a knockout was in 2018. So that was, 8 years ago. He hadn't knocked anyone out in 8 years. And he's finally done it. Breaks his knockout streak. He's on a 2-fight win streak now. Against, his last fight was against Roman Kopylov. So he's got back-to-back wins against, kickboxing Russians. So maybe that's what Paulo Costa needs, is just, stand-up kickboxers from Europe. European kickboxers seems to work for Paulo Costa of recent. Just a great performance. Looked good in there. Started to gas a bit. Azamat looked like he could have, poured it on him a bit. But Paulo Costa found his way. Azamat also gassing himself. And ends up in a finish. Now, this heavyweight fight gets fight of the night. Josh Hockett versus Curtis Blades. Gets fight of the night bonus, and Hockett gets a performance of the night. So Hockett gets $200K bonus for this fight. He gets a decision win. It's been talked, fight of the year contender. One of the greatest heavyweight fights of all time. People were saying Mark Hunt versus Bigfoot in Brisbane. Still holds that, but this made this card just really epic, because the fight before that was Dominic Reyes, Johnny Walker, and we really plateaued, and this took it up a notch, and 10x notch. And Josh Hockett, Curtis Blades, thank you guys for putting that fight on for the fans and delivering. I don't think we thank these fighters enough. and giving them that appreciation, because they just, they're putting their life on the line, their body on the line for our entertainment. Obviously to get a paycheck, but, for our entertainment. And leading up to this fight, Josh Hockett, doing his pro wrestling stick, and he was getting a lot of hate. It's very cringy, people think, and Dana openly says, I don't like it, but at least he's trying. Like, personally, I don't mind it, I don't, it's definitely on the cringier side, but I know what he's trying to do, and he's just being a character. He's having a go at promoting, and people wanted to see him get knocked out, and people were paying attention. And with that, and with all the talk and gimmick, he delivered in the octagon. The most important thing was he delivered in the octagon, and that just wins over fans. That just catapults you, because if you can walk the talk, that's what gets you the big fights. That's what gets you the money. And that's, look at Conor McGregor, for instance. His up until 2018, essentially, walking the talk is what gets you the big fights, the big money fights, and what, lets you jump the queue and puts you to superstardom. And Josh Hockett has been doing that. And the heavyweight division, as we know, has been in dire straits, and this is what it needed. And the amount of volume and strikes for this 3-round fight in the heavyweight division was insane. We never see this. After that first round, I was thinking, these guys are gassed. We're not going to see much else after. But they just kept walking forward. Obviously, the power would kind of go down because there's less emphasis on the shot. But they're still landing on each other, even though they weren't like the biggest powerful shots because of the fatigue. But they were still walking forward and landing. And I got to give it to both of them. Curtis Blades, even though he lost, it's a huge win, because next time he fights, everyone's going to be going. Everyone's looking forward to when one of these two guys next fighting, because they were so entertaining, regardless if you win or lose. Like, MMA fans are very forgiving in that sense, because if you're entertaining and put on awesome fights, we're pretty forgettable with the losses. So like Curtis Blades, I can't wait till he fights next, because if he fights like that, it's going to be awesome. I'm going to be tuning in. And Josh Hockett, man, like, that's what we need. And to go from unranked to beating the ranked 6 number guy at heavyweight, he's now going to be a top 6 heavyweight. Like, what a performance, man. He gets 200k bonus. He gets the double bonus. Super rare. I think the last person to get that was Jiri Prochazka against Khalil Roundtree last year. The double bonus. And huge respect to Josh Hockett, because he kept that same energy during the fight, putting up the fingers, spamming the middle fingers. You got to give him respect. He didn't do like a Kobe Covington or a Manuel Cup or Makayev, where they just talk so much, and then it gets to the octagon and they're just circling away, not engaging into the fight. But when they're security round, it's like, oh, don't hold me back. When they get held back, they keep barking like a dog behind a gate. As soon as you open the gate or the fence, they stop barking. But Josh Hockett, he kept that energy, and it wasn't malicious or anything. It's entertainment. And huge respect. I like what's happening here. He's giving it a go. Success is on the other side of cringe, is the old saying. And that's what we're seeing with Josh. He's, being cringe, he knows it. We know it. But if he's been successful, you get away with it, of course. Definitely fight of the year contender. Now, Dominic Reyes, Johnny Walker, biggest disappointment on the card. I was looking forward to this fight. And boy, was it a letdown. We thought this was going to be fireworks, 2 chinny guys. I thought there was a double knockout in play here, but for some reason, both guys decided to fight really smartly, not get into the fire. Felt like they might have been both gun shy. Reyes coming off a knockout loss. Johnny Walker coming off a big win in Shanghai last year. But both just, I guess, the stylistic matchup. I guess when two guys are just, sometimes that happens when you think a style like these two guys and the way they fight, you think you're going to get what you see most of the time. But this time, the complete opposite happened. Not many strikes landed. So don't want to spend too much time on it. Just disappointed. Dominic Reyes gets a split decision win. They didn't even get him a post-fight speech. But it is what it is. And then the first fight on the main card, Cobb Swanson gets the knockout over Nate Landwehr, goes out on a high. He's now officially retired, gets a great send-off. What a way to go out at 42 years old. Man, his shots were sending Nate Landwehr across the octagon. And I got to say, Cobb Swanson, man, he's still got that speed. He was quick in there. And they say the last thing to go is your power. And you could see he's still got the power. But for a 42-year-old featherweight, man, his speed was incredible. He's still sharp. For a 42-year-old, man, he's in great nick. So looking forward to his post-fight career. He just set up a gym, going into that coaching role now. So thanks for everything, Cobb, what you've done for the sport of MMA. His best days were, WEC, and then up until probably 2015 was when he was in his prime. But then he got another 10 years of fighting and, a bit up and down. But at featherweight, man, stacked division, tough to stay in it like that, and he did. So all the best in retirement. And then the feature prelim, I still haven't gone back and rewatched the Bellator fight, Pico vs Pitbull. I was in transit, en route to the watch party during this fight. So Pico got the decision win. So I haven't watched it. I'll go back and watch it, but I haven't seen one thing about this fight. One mention, no talking points online about this fight. Nothing. It's just been all Jiri and Ulberg post UFC Miami and Josh Hockett. That's really what's only been talked about. But well done to Pico getting back in the win column, getting his first win in the UFC. And if there's nothing going on about this fight, then obviously no reason to really talk about it. Kevin Holland gets a win over Randy Brown. It was shaping up a good fight, but both guys kind of gassed. In the end, Randy Brown, he needed to get a knockout to win, but he was just gassed and just held up Holland against the fence in the clinch. Holland, he had that anaconda or dash check locked in, man. In that second round, I believe it was. Randy, great defense. He gets out of it. Because, very rare you see two guys who are 6'3", tall, long strikers fighting each other at welterweight. So it was cool to see. Not a bad fight. Mateusz Gamrot versus Esteban Ribovic. He gets a submission win, arm triangle in the second round. And last week when we talked about this fight, I said, Gamrot, if he gets this to the ground, he's going to win this pretty much. But probably by decision, leaning on that side, because Ribovic, he's got good boxing. These Argentinian guys Francisco Prado, who was also on the card, and then you got Kevin Vallejos, these Argentinian guys, great boxing, but nobody checked the grappling, nobody checked their wrestling, and Gamrot checked Ribovic's wrestling, got him down when he wanted to, and then in that second round, got the choke in. And I had a little nibble on Gamrot via submission at $8.50 because I was like, man, if he gets him to the ground, I don't know what Ribovic's submission defense is like. And he got the submission win, so easy money there. Gamrot back in the win column after getting submitted by Charles Oliveira on short notice. Good for the Polish guy, back in the win column. Tatiana Suarez, after getting dropped, gets the rear naked choke in the second round against Lupi Godinez. So well done to her because facing adversity in that first round, getting dropped. Godinez, bit of a low fight IQ moment to continue trying to wrestle with Tatiana Suarez after dropping her. Should have just let her stand back up, get back to the striking instead of fighting where she feels comfortable in the chain wrestling side. So well done to Tatiana. And then we get a controversial decision that gets overturned. So Medeiros versus Padilla, great stand-up fight, pretty much a Muay Thai fight, epic elbows. It was probably going to be fight of the night until Josh Hockett and Curtis Blades happened. But Bruce Buffer announces the fight a majority decision for Chris Padilla, and then 15 or 18 minutes later, it gets overturned to a majority draw. So I don't know what happened there, but I assume the card Bruce Buffer got given, he just read out what he got given, and then they realized, because it was 28-28, 28-28, and then 29-28 for Chris Padilla. So two judges had it a draw, so a majority draw. But on the UFC news thing, the card, it has that, but then it says majority decision as the result, but it should have said majority draw, so I assume Bruce Buffer's been stitched up here. And yeah, they had to overturn it, but now Chris Padilla reported now he's filed a complaint or whatever to the commission for that to be overturned. He should be the winner, but I feel like majority draw is the right decision here. Very close fight because we got the point taken in the third round because Medeiros did an eye poke. And I got to say, well done to these refs. They're being consistent, but they're, taking points away. It's great. Like sometimes they do it on the first eye poke or they wait for the second one and they're taking points. And it was because Randy Brown, I believe he got a point taken, if I'm not mistaken. And, or was it Francis? Yeah, there was another point taken on the card. And yeah, let's keep doing it, refs. It's great. Because it's so annoying that these fighters are getting poked in the eye, getting compromised. Nothing's happening to them. Like you look at Tom Aspinall, man, I still can't believe the shit he's getting after he egregiously got poked multiple times, and no points were taken. Like this, the way they're handling it's good. This should be the standard. So great night for the refs. The refs had a great night tonight. No bad stoppages. Points were taken when they should have been. So yeah, another weird one with the decision there, but I think it was a draw. Vicente Luque submits Kelvin Gastelum with the dash choke at middleweight. I thought this fight was taking place at welterweight. Because Gastelum, he's always going up and down, and Vicente obviously being a welterweight, but he jumped up. And he dropped Gastelum and then gets the choke. You can't knock out Gastelum. He's never been knocked out. He gets dropped, but not knocked out. But Vicente, man, he needed that win because he's been up and down. He was on a 2-fight losing streak. So he gets a win. And then the first fight of the night, Charles Radke, decision win over Francisco Prado. Good fight. The Argentinian Drew Dober is pretty much, like for like Drew Dober. Francisco Prado, good fight, but Radke just got him to the ground and was able to get the decision win. So that's UFC 327 in the books. Entertaining card. The last 3 fights, Hockett, Costa, and Ulberg were all timing. Like that was awesome, that run there. And Ulberg, he got a performance bonus himself. Still hasn't sunk in. I mean, Jiri, he's due to have a baby pretty much right now. I'm assuming he's back on the plane, back to Czech Republic. Ah, man, that's gotta hurt. Like, Jiri has infinite title shot plot armor, because that was his. He's had one, two. I'm just on Tapology because he fought Glover, so that's one. Fought Pereira. Tapology doesn't have it as a title shot. I just could have sworn that. Yeah, for the vacant belt. So that's two, three, four. So that was his fourth title shot. So he's lost two against Pereira. Now Ulberg. So that was his fourth. So he's, 1-3 in title shots. Yeah, tough scenes because when you're such an entertaining fighter like Jiri, you get a bit more privilege and a bit more leniency to get back in there. In the light heavyweight division, you can kind of jump the queue a bit. I mean, that's why I'm calling, like people are saying, I've been saying, got to get Ryan and Dorita up at light heavyweight, man. Get a couple wins there, and you'll be getting a title shot. So, and you think, and yeah, I think about this every now and then. Is like you get guys like Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, some of the best fighters, popular fighters of all time, who have never been undisputed champ. Never been undisputed champ. But they're like they're like some of the most known fighters of all time. Been on the most pay-per-views, a lot of main events. Never become undisputed champ. But then you get other divisions like light heavyweight champ, and you got guys like Jamal Hill is the undisputed UFC champ, and you're like, what? You get a guy like Magomed Ankalaev, undisputed champ. Like, to the casual fans or whatever, they don't even know who these guys are. Same with like some of the women's divisions. Like, I don't want to be too mean, but Raquel Pennington is an undisputed UFC world champ. Yeah, like the lighter weights, man, they're so stacked and hard to win a belt at, especially lightweight, featherweight, welterweight. But then you see like, some of the women's, but like especially light heavyweight, some of these guys that are champs, like if they were a 155 pounder, they don't even make the rankings. So yeah, I do think about that. Like some of the champs we've had, like it's easier to become a champ in the heavyweight, light heavyweight division. More so, the light heavyweight has had so many champions. I mean, let's just quickly Google. Stay with me now. The light heavyweight champs, because for a while it was John Jones. It was just John Jones essentially, but the past like 8 years, it's just been chopping and changing so much. Like, let's get them up. UFC light heavyweight champions. Like Jan Blachowicz, he won it at like 38. Glover Teixeira, like good fighters, but if you're in another division, especially like lightweight, you ain't becoming champion. Early days, Tito Ortiz, Randy Couture, Vitor Belfort, Chuck Liddell, Quentin Rampage, Forrest Griffin, Forrest Griffin becoming champ, Rampage got robbed in that fight. Rashad Evans, Lyoto Machida, Shogun Rua, John Jones, like these are all top tier fighters. Like light heavyweight division in the early 2000s was insane. Like, was like the most stacked division. That was like, it was the glamour division. You got Daniel Cormier, John Jones, and then it hits when John Jones left the division after the Dominic Reyes fight in 2019, it has just been chopping and changing. It's been very sporadic. A lot of injuries have caused it, but we went Jan Blachowicz was the champ. He defeats Dominic Reyes for the vacant belt, and then Glover Teixeira beats Jan Blachowicz literally a year later, if that. Yeah, literally a year later, Glover submits Teixeira, and then a year later, Jiri submits Glover Teixeira. Probably one of the best light heavyweight title fights of all time. Go back and watch Jiri vs Glover. Crazy fight. Then Jiri becomes champ. Then he vacates because of his shoulder injury. A year later, Jamal defeats Glover Teixeira with that crazy 5-round fight. So Jamal Hill's champ. Then he blows out his Achilles or ACL. So then Pereira then fights for the belt. And becomes champion. When did he? Yeah, when he defeated Jiri at UFC 295 for the vacant belt. And then Pereira defended it a few times. And then he loses to Ankalaev, gets the rematch, beats Ankalaev, and then vacates, and now Carlos Ulberg. So we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 champions in the past 6 years or so. Essentially, we've had a new champ every year in the light heavyweight division. It's been super up and down, and it's going to continue like that because Ulberg's injured now, so we're going to have either interim or another vacant title fight. Yeah, so tough scenes a little bit there, but and that's where I was saying with like Dustin and Justin, and it's like, these guys have never been undisputed, and then you go to like light heavyweight and you got 4 guys there who are undisputed who probably wouldn't become champion if they were in another division, but because it's light heavyweight and because of injuries and whatnot, they've become undisputed champs, and you're like, not all divisions are equal as far as championship value. But to end this, let's quickly preview UFC Winnipeg in Canada. As far as ranking wise and fight wise, not the most stacked, not the most well named. But as we've seen, some cards don't have to be the most. We don't have to know the fighters or be the most well known names to deliver. Because we got Gilbert Burns versus Mike Malott. Gilbert is ranked. Mike Malott isn't ranked. A lot of Canadians on this card, so pretty much, it's a bit like, a UFC Perth. You remember that fight night? Not the most well known, just a lot of local fighters from that country. So it's kind of the same here. We've got Kyler Phillips, Charles Jourdain, Co-Main. So we've only got 3 ranked fighters on this card, and that's Gilbert Burns, and then Jasmine Juzadivish versus Karine Silva. So there's only 3 ranked fighters on this card, but I'm sure it'll be fun. I'm sure there'll be some good finishes. One to look out for is Mark Vologdin. He was in that crazy Dana White Contender Series fight last year. I actually did a video doing a fight reaction video to it where I tried not to react. Didn't turn out too well because I pretty much reacted the whole time. Just an insane war. So I'm not going to sit here and like shit on it because I don't know the fighters or whatever. I'm just going to be like, it's just pretty much an Apex card, but it's going to be in Winnipeg in an arena. And I'm sure we're going to get some cool moments. Maybe it'll be a drag. I don't know. But I'll be tuning in. As far as the main event, pretty much this is setting up Mike Malott to get a win over a well-known name in the welterweight division in Gilbert Burns, who at one point almost won the welterweight title off Kamaru Usman. Like, he knocked down Kamaru Usman in that fight and then gets knocked out himself. So Gilbert Burns, he's on the way out. Like, he got brutally finished against Michael Morales in his last fight last year in May. So he's now returning against Mike Malott, who's every time he's had step up in competition, he's kind of been fraud checked a little. So they're really trying to set him up, like, because Canada don't really have any, big fighters. They've been struggling in that sense. I think their best fighter right now is the bantamweight, Zahabi's brother, is Ayman Zahabi. And he's been, unexpectedly been doing well. But yeah, Burns is on a 4-fight losing streak. He's almost 40. How old is he? He's 39 years old. Like, he turns 40 in July. So pretty much Mike Malott's here to win. But Mike Malott, let's see what history shows, but I think it shows he kind of fumbles it a bit. Like, he's on a 3-fight win streak, and he beat Kevin Holland via decision. I believe that was the fight where he just kept nutshotting Kevin. Like, he probably should have lost that fight, Mike, because he should have had points taken away. I'm pretty sure it was the fight where he just kept kicking Kevin in the dick, and no consequences were made. So if that fight had been this year, because it happened October last year, if it was this year, I think Kevin would have won that. He lost to Neil Magny. Like, he was a massive favorite in that fight. And then he loses ground and pound in the last 30 seconds, gets knocked down. Because in the UFC, he was on a 1, 2, 3, 4-fight win streak, loses that. He's back on a 3-fight win streak. So he's been versing guys kind of, ranked 16 to 25 or 30 in the welterweight division. But every time he kind of gets the guy who's right there at the edge of the rankings, he's kind of fumbled it a little bit. Just like a guy like Neil Magny, the ultimate ranking gatekeeper at the welterweight division. But he got over the hump against Kevin Holland, but again, not an impressive performance. A lot of dirty kicks, which he should have got points taken away. So Gilbert Burns, a great grappler, as we know, but has been getting chinned. And I think Mike Malott's got to do that here to get the win. But we'll leave it at that, guys. UFC 327 in the books, an all-time card. Still lots to digress about it. A lot happened. But yeah, that'll be it for this week, guys. Enjoy the fights at Winnipeg, and we'll see you in the review. Enjoy the week. Catch you later.